set the slides.
All right.
So, sorry. So what I thought is, I'm looking on, we talked about the 601. It's the big dollar. Every single financial information and stuff like that. We're going to need to adjust some of the bus driver salaries. For instance, if you have bus drivers that go outside of the 150-mile
Beyond the state border.
Yeah, then those salaries have to be pulled out and put to another. I mean, just a portion of it, not, okay, the whole trip, it's just, okay, then going $5. Anything that gets charged is, the other thing that has to be figured out is, so, it used to be the state revenue for payroll for the employee portion. And then a few years back, it's any more employees that have a skin in the game. And so they started to charge some of that. And then we said, hey, we need to fund some more. And so the state said, rather than just giving you the money based on the number of employees you have, nothing on this now. But at the end of the year, our whole, all the villages now, our whole special facilities. And we get to claim, or we get to claim transportation.
I'm sorry, this guy's not working. That's your stuff.
So, all one calculation, and what I typically do is okay, here's how I get this number, but then we go through this all together. So, the state reports review of the rates. So it's also Friday. Probably on Friday or the next Friday. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'll come down and see. I got 7 slides, 8 if you want.
I don't.
No, what I'm saying is we try to get out.
Let's see. You get on me for being too long-winded, and you're way more long-winded than I am. I'm Linda, I haven't met you yet.
Hello, Travis.
This is Travis.
Nice to meet you. I'm food service director, so you and I need to visit it.
Yeah.
The summer's gone really well, so.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
No, we're now live. In the summer, so that's
So I see that now, this was like on Facebook. We set up a booth down at the farmer's market.
Yeah, I heard people.
Not well the first week, but we've got balloons and we're going to sell cookies, and so I think we've got some ideas to kind of promote people that we move. So hopefully we can get more. It's fine. not, and then we hurry to sit down, we're gonna be sitting for a while.
Yeah.
And then there's you. How's the kitchen coming? Nice one. Okay, don't ask, got it.
All of the like we put in April, May, and June. And all for that. And the kitchen, all of that too. Because the piping of everything doesn't put pressure. It's all that heat. We've got some piping started to show up last week. I said we've got new.
So it's the piping issue? It's the pipe?
Yeah, the fittings on the pipe.
Okay.
The pipe itself, I don't know about the pipe itself, but that piping had a little bit thinner wall than the PEX pipe, even though they look an awful lot like they're both plastic pipe, but because of the way I explained to you, that has a tool that expands the pipe, then you put the fitting on and this plastic hose comes in, and then within about 10 minutes, it shrinks it back down over that fitting. Holds it.
If it works.
If it works.
It doesn't.
Yeah, so, the nice thing is we've been doing this in phases. This would have been a fiasco had we not tested the pipe in the first phase and found this and said, hey, let's just test the pipe and get all of this.
And
So the blessing was that we found it now. Had to wait the 2-3 weeks to kind of go through the, he said, she said, they said, you know, whatever. And then we're finally getting schedule is still end of August. That will be done. So a lot of the initial staging is done. The mainline stuff is really done, racing. So moving PEX up is fairly easy. So, but it just, yeah. That's my kitty project. Wasn't during the school year.
Okay.
We'll make it through it on a little bit every day. We're getting an extra cruise and we've been working Friday, Saturday.
All right. I mean, it's fine.
I wasn't worried about the high school. But I was worried
So
about
take lots of pictures of everybody else.
Gladly.
sheetrock and paint. They've got a pretty aggressive schedule too.
What's your name? John.
Oh, yeah, well,
Hayden Martin.
I'm got wrong as the first and second, but the kitchen
Started
started.
with the Harold basketball season, so.
Are you from here?
I'm not a big skater, I've been here about 4 years.
Where are you from?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh, California, or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Kitchen?
Is it Pittsburgh, California?
Yeah. It doesn't have an H on it.
Okay.
And I live right next to it, and I lived in West Virginia, so.
Where in West Virginia?
I lived in Charleston and Milton and Huntington, and Somersville, and Marietta, Ohio.
I love to.
And I've been to Martin.
Does the job.
I was there for 7 years. I was born in Utah, so we kind of moved in a triangle.
Well, our goal is to get everybody out. It's not Do you want a spare copy of the vision? Thank you.
you're not the only one that's promoted it. Kimber did it. Oh, Steve almost did it.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't just me, but. Well, and then,
And then I realized I had to turn on two-factor authentication for Google for stuff. So, if that
It's-
wasn't the
it's, now Jared kind of turned on. Today he came in and he said,
Travis's.
yeah, he said, he's like, you know what, I think that file's still on your computer and it's still sharing. So he went in and found it. And the weird thing is, the people that sent you, it didn't actually like, write email stuff.
Are you talking about that Russian bot?
So once they got your information, they send it a different way, spoofing you in a way that showed this document came from.
Yeah.
So Merle, because he had two-factor authentication, Google did exactly what it's supposed to, couldn't do it. So we have the Office 365, so we use the Office 365 and set it up that way.
But, okay, so what was the executive file in there?
Something in that PDF, because once you open it up, fill it out, then your name, your email address.
It didn't even ask.
Yours didn't ask it, Merle asked for an email address and it's asked.
Well, it popped up and said that it couldn't open unless I had to verify my information.
So did you verify it?
Yeah, I took it.
It just like, no.
Well, for me, it came from Ryan and it said.
Well, it looked like it came from Ryan.
Right. And it said something about the, what do you call it,
The staff, it was.
Evaluation.
Evaluation.
and it said it was coming from third party, and I thought, well, we've
Yeah.
got this third party group that's working with evaluations and stuff, so I just went, okay. Won't do
Test
that
1,
again.
2, 1, 2, testing.
You have to hold it down so it to ask you. Recording.
You're before me. You're before me too.
I like the sign. Thank you. I said I like the sign.
Full house. Woo! They must have known I was gonna be here. All my fans. We don't even have any schools.
Do you feel lonely out there?
I do. I have nobody to tease. Who's gonna razz? There, Dan?
I don't know, we gotta pick on somebody.
Yeah, Jared's down there. I guess he's gonna take the brunt of it all. Sure.
Let my computer work, so I think this was right. Okay, let me log in and we'll get started. Do you want to follow along on this? I'll do that. I know, I like it. I'm sure I liked it. Okay, I'm up and running. So I want to welcome everybody to our regular session of the UNS County School District Number 1 Board. So if you can go ahead and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item on our agenda tonight is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Down to our consent agenda items, we have our minutes from our June 7th meeting, our payment of the bills, our rec center and annual budget and operating agreement, Region 5 BOCES, and superintendent's evaluation. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself from checks 8667.
Okay, great, thank you, so noted. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Any presentations tonight? No? Okay, any school reports?
All right.
Madam Chair, members of the board, just a quick report. We did receive a notification from Wyoming Department of Ed of full accreditation status for the company.
Oh, great. Thank you for sharing. Okay, well, I guess we're down to our discussion items. Our first item for discussion is our summer project update. Is that Mr. Dennis?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just a couple updates, just a little bit going on across our district. You'll notice that the playground for UME has started. They hope to be completed by the middle of the month in August, so that'll be done. Stacy Maxfield's been working on a project over at UME with a retaining wall and some drainage stuff, a little bit of asphalt, and then it's moving out to transportation. He's actually started some work out there already. Again, he hopes to be done in the next 3 weeks. He's hoping on that one. Our water project, just to kind of give you a quick update from our last meeting. I don't know if I told you that we were having issues with it holding pressure. Long story short, when we did the test in the locker room area, the piping that they put in wouldn't hold pressure. So after conversations with the owner, it's been determined they pulled all of that new piping out. New piping is in the process. They still anticipate they will be done with that project end of August, middle of September, which is really incredible. I have to commend IPW. There was no arguing back and forth between the owner and us. They did not want to leave that project knowing that it wasn't going to be 100% satisfactory to themselves as well as to us. And so they will deal with the rep, they'll deal with everybody else afterwards, but they've moved forward and new piping is going in. They are aware of when I need the locker room back. being able to get the pool, all of that. So they're working with us on that. So if you hear anything about that, or people in the community say, hey, I've heard this, yes, it is true. All of the piping that was put in the locker rooms has come out, and the new stuff is going in as we speak. So they will be working now even longer on Friday and Saturdays, and perhaps might start working Sundays, so we might have people up there 7 days a week. So again, I have to commend them. I've never seen a contractor who's put so many people on it in the past, so.
So what kind of restrictions are we going to have? I mean, we're talking middle of September, football starts middle of August, and we have locker room issues? So how are we going to accommodate football or
They will be
volleyball or?
done with the locker room portion by the first week of August, because they know that lockers are coming in. Floor is actually being put in on the second floor right now in my new locker room flooring, so they're well aware of where we're at. So when I talk about end of August, that's really kind of getting down into our science wings, our academic area. Right now, their two main focuses are, again, the locker room in that area, as well as our kitchen, which I told them those were our two primary. As you might recall, when we originally went out to bid with this, their completion date was actually March of 2023. And they've kind of put themselves where they want it to be done by August, which, hey, kudos to them. I've given them the building till March. They knew kind of the parameters that they had to work with as school came back in, but their goal was to be done by August. So if they get it done, it's a win for us and a win for them in that regard, but they're well aware of what we have, and so they're meeting those.
No issues with the pools? Pools will be open and going too?
The pool, we will do initial cleaning the 1st and 2nd of August and start filling the pool by the 8th. It'll take a week for that to fill. Actually, it'll take 2 days because we'll use the fire hose and then chemicals and stuff, so it'll be ready for first day of practice. So, again, I have to commend them. They've done a great job. And they've had to work around my other contractors who've been there because we've had to, working on the floor, pulling out the lockers, stuff like that. So it's moving forward. Then our final one is our high school project on the field. That is moving forward. We had another conversation with them today based on some deadlines, trying to finalize some deadlines. After our conversation, initially the deadline was going to be, they were going to be completed the 18th. In talking with Bubba, he's given them till the 24th. And when we say final completion, basically they have to be off the field. Anything after the 24th can be cleaning up parking lots, doing some of the stuff there, but they've got to have everything done by the 24th of August. Which Dan was in the meeting with us. We felt comfortable with that. And that still, honestly, gives us another month till our first game, but we didn't want to allow them that extra time. We needed them to kind of complete what they've got. So that's moving forward. The surfacing crew has started their initial cleaning, doing the things that they're doing. They're going through the tiny little cracks that you see and filling those right now. That'll take the next 2.5 weeks for them to complete all of the surfacing. The field will arrive the 8th, and they will start putting that down the 15th, if not a little bit sooner. And so that's kind of where we're at. The one date that we don't know and may go past final completion, just so you know, is the actual striping of the track. That's dependent upon when that company's going through all the different things, but the striping is not contingent upon us being able to play football or anything like that. So
When's the first game, home game?
the 22nd of September.
So what about the external contracts and different things that are going on outside of field turf? How are we coming on?
Things are moving along. So press box, if you haven't driven up there, you'll be a little surprised. It's going to be a very impressive press box. They will have the roof on that, or the trusses for the roof on that tomorrow. and electricians have been in there, started today, getting that. Sheetrockers come next week, and so that's moving right along. Our windows are here, so I'm just now waiting on doors, but that's moving along. My cement work that's been contracted is moving along. The Fleximat that's going on the outside, that should be delivered the first week of August. Ready, we'll be starting to install that the second week of August. The only thing I did a follow-up on, we haven't heard, is when our new building that's holding our storage that's being built on the south end there, when that's supposed to arrive. And so, but all of our subcontractors have done a tremendous job working within the means that we needed to. We had a few setbacks that, as we discovered some conduits and more conduits behind the press box, but got all that resolved and we're back in business. If you haven't seen, the new lights are up. So a lot of things are starting to be checked off and moving forward. So if you have any, other questions on it or want some more finer details, I'd be happy to meet with you and we can go over that. But things are, in the end, it's going to be a wonderful thing.
So I guess the one thing that is hanging out there is, and I was going to try to be to the meeting today and just was not there, environmental conditions associated with them putting down that track. Do we have issues and concerns with the conditions of our external areas of dirt and dust infiltrating what they're trying to apply? Is it going to cause some adhesive issues? Do we have a contingency plan, or not contingency, but a plan to eliminate those issues?
I have some issues, and I have voiced my issues to Filter on it, because as you guys are aware, I've got the dirt area to the north there that's exposed, and then the haul road. The haul road will be easier to mitigate in the fact that once they start that surfacing, I've asked all of our contractors not to use that, and we'll just block it off at the top. But I have asked in several emails, direct emails to Lisa and to Jed about the need of a water truck. They have brought extra pipe or extra hoses to use off the fire hydrant, and they've been watering the areas that they've been working in that regards. But it has been a concern, and I've probably addressed it 3 or 4 times and saying it would be advisable to have a water truck here, just knowing the wind that comes up. Fortunately, most of our wind kind of comes and blows from south to north, but on occasion you do get those swirls that would take the bare ground on the north and bring it back. And so I've addressed it. I've asked them to have it there. The biggest concern is if we see it, we'll just reject it. And, if you have another suggestion for me, Mr. Peterson, I would love to do it.
I don't. I guess my concern is we're paying $3.5 million for this. We are putting down a track without any kind of control of the surrounding environments. And granted, maybe you don't see it the first year, maybe you don't see it the second year, maybe you don't see it the 5th year. But 10 years down the road, are we losing adhesion and we're going to have to resurface that track that we're putting down if they don't take care of or mitigate the dust at this time?
So you bring up a very valid point, and short of stopping them completely, I don't know what else to do other than if I stop them, then work doesn't move forward. And so I will continue to beg every Monday when I talk to Daniel. I've talked to Lisa. Dan can attest. We talked about it again today when I said, hey, what are we doing to mitigate water? Or, you've got to be able to provide some sort of water truck or have somebody on that hose every hour spraying down those areas, which isn't going to be feasible because you've got to be careful in that regard. So
is that something that we could try and go through a different source like the city or something like that would be willing to maybe?
It's really interesting. For 3 months, I had a water truck on site for the things that we needed to do, and I had to pull teeth just to get them to use that water truck in the areas that I felt that they needed to do.
And where did the water truck come from?
I rented it from Sunbelt. And then finally I was like, I'm paying for this.
Yeah.
This isn't, I need to send this back. And so, Philturf is very much aware that Norris has a water truck. It's $100 a day, which is really cheap for them
I mean,
to use it.
how many days would we need a water truck for?
They
as
would
they're
need-
putting the track down.
They would need the water truck for those 2.5 weeks. So you're looking, $2,500 for a truck. But it's not just having the truck there, it's taking the initiative to use it and to do those things.
Is there a contractual obligation for them to have it?
I see their obligation is to make sure that the track adheres to the concrete.
So there's,
Putting is a big part.
so there's for the lack of a better word, professional, there's specific engineering processes that they follow to make sure that the track meets, certain requirements, et cetera. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it seems to me that
with as much initiative as the surfacing guys are taking right now, they have been down there with a pressure washer, washing everything. They've been sealing all the cracks. They've been doing an excellent job. I hate to see all of that work, and all it's going to require, as you guys know, is one of our little microbursts to come in where that wind will just swirl, come back, put a little bit of dust on the track that they've just cleaned, and then go from there.
But the contractor's aware of these type of natural activities that occur, and it's written in the contract that they're supposed to.
The contract does not specifically, but they know they've got to keep that surface clean. And I have written 2 emails specifically to them saying, hey, remember, you guys have been up here. Especially come about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that wind starts to pick up. What are we doing to mitigate that dust from coming on to this stuff?
Would it be wise on our part to possibly put together a legal memo of some sort from?
I would defer to Jeff.
And let them know, hey, from a legal point of view, this is an issue.
Well, I think like Jaron was saying, that we don't really want to stir the pot right now, right? Is that what you were
Well,
getting
we
at?
want to get it done. Because we're behind an 8 ball, and these guys, I think, are restricted to this time slot.
Yeah.
And if we don't get it done during this time slot, we don't get it done.
Right.
But I guess my question is this: on the legal end and our contractually, can we go up there with the water truck, us do our own watering and do dust control, and then come back and say, we're not paying you for this because we did this on our own to make sure that our track is going to be fine?
I would have to look to see for sure if we can engage in some self-help here to resolve the contract issue. But generally, that is discouraged. It's better to try and get them to take care of it the way they're supposed to.
I agree, but if it's going to cause them, that says we have 2.5 weeks here, and at the end of the 2.5 weeks, we've got to go to Park City to do it, and these surfacing guys only have this slot, and then if we don't do it now, well, we'll do it next spring. That's the concern.
Right.
So, do we have any teeth that we can come back on them and say, hey, we asked for this, we've got emails about this, you guys never responded to this, this is what we rented the equipment for this time period of the 2.5 weeks, and we have an operator. And so that cost, we're just going to keep out of your next pay request.
Well, and with the exception of the Hall Road, what other dirt source do we have? Like, so there's an open hill that's
So
just dirt?
where we removed the hillside, all of that's still open.
And what's the plan for that? Weren't you gonna put
That's
rock
gonna
on
be
it?
sod,
Oh, it is gonna be sod.
but I can't have sod there. There's still a lot of other things that have to happen, and so I appreciate your question, David, and to be to be honest, there's some concerns on some billings that right now I've kind of held. They sent me one 2 weeks ago, and I've kind of held off because they have not complied with everything. So I'm kind of holding their feet to the fire on some things. Not to spend a whole lot of time in here, but there's some things that they're wanting to charge us for. There's some things that it's kind of going back and forth, and so I think we
I'm happy to get involved and help, Jeremy, so to answer your
So I guess my question is this. It's cheap insurance for us to just do it. Bite the bullet, go get your water truck, get it watered down. We can argue about it afterwards. In 7 years, I don't want to be going out there tearing up a track because we've got a thin dust layer that is on there that's preventing it to keep adhered to the surface there.
Yeah.
You know, or if we have anything that's introduced into whatever they're applying down at the time. You know, that's...
And not to interrupt you, I have to kind of give a little bit of credit to Filter, knowing that they do this day in and day out. Yes, we're unique, but we're not unique in the fact that, they put down these tracks in areas that have had ground cover or sod or anything on that. The other thing that, anytime we get a little bit of a rainstorm, imagine the dust and the dirt that comes down on that. And if there's not enough rain, it's going to leave some of those particulates on that track. And so not having a true understanding of how much can be on there, I would have to think that there's got to be a little bit of forgiveness with having some dust and stuff, just knowing nature in the way nature is. I do know that if it starts to rain, they immediately will pull off until the next day. But
Well, Chair members of the board, if I could just add, one of the things that we need to be careful is we need to have confidence in these individuals as the experts. They know that that's got to be cleaned. They cleaned it yesterday, probably wasted time, because in 2 weeks they'll have to do it again. Our expectation is to work with them. If we need to get a water truck, Jared, get a water truck. Let's lube the whole countryside. And it'd be worth our minimum investment. And I have confidence in Jared doing that too. We have a lot of good people with eyes on this project. You guys realize my past experience with Evanston Middle School. We do not want to get into an adversarial fight with these individuals. They're nothing like the contractors we dealt with before. These guys are good. But they need to have eyes on them constantly. Not saying we don't trust them, it's just human nature sometimes to take a shortcut. We can't afford to anyone to take a shortcut. But we have to give them some rope to confidence that they can do it, they will do it, and Jared will be right there watching.
And truth be told, the biggest weakness that we've seen is just lack of an on-site supervisor. The only thing that's done is hurt them. There's things that they're having to redo because they haven't had an on-site supervisor that basically we've said, no, not acceptable. No, not acceptable. And so they're having to pull it. So that's been the biggest thing. Their workers are amazing. They've done a tremendous job. They've gone above and beyond in things that I said, hey, would you mind taking care of this too while you're here? And so it's been a great relationship. And I think to Superintendent Thomas's point, we're walking very carefully. We want them to finish, we want them to put in, do a really good job. It's just the middle stuff. Those on site, and when you're on site, it gets done right. When those who are sitting behind the computer are not on site and not saying things, those are the things that sometimes we struggle with. And David, I know you're well aware as you've had conversations with Brent, and sometimes we have to remember, hey, we're having these conversations here, but things are moving forward here.
No, I agree. And so, but you have to understand, I come from the construction side too.
Yeah.
I deal with this kind of stuff, and I deal with contractors as well. I'm not here to beat them up. I'm just saying, what is the manufacturer's recommendation on the application of their material? Pretty simple. Have that in place, and if there is issues with dust, and we can prove that there is dust and it comes up, then maybe we talk about it at that time.
Yeah.
But to not go down that road and have that in place or in hand, and we have issues in the future, then we have nothing to stand on.
Right.
So my suggestion is, make sure you have the manufacturer's recommendation on the application of that track.
Will do.
Good advice, David.
And we can, I'll read over that so I know exactly. And I'll, we'll get a truck ordered. I'll probably just talk to Daryl and say, hey, get your truck, charge us for whatever that is, and then we'll make sure that we have an operator to kind of run that, so that
It's kind of a catch-22, because you throw a truck out there, and then you're stirring up dust before you even get your water on there. So, I mean, water truck sometimes is good when you're doing soils, but sometimes it's bad because dust control, you're gonna kick up dust.
And
So,
the point too is, we can only control our property. You guys know what happens when it rains in the wind blows, your cars turn black. That's what's happening to the track, so. They'll have to do more than they've done so far to keep it clean. And expectations look at
so I'm not beating up on you, I'm just,
No.
like I said, I've been
appreciate
in the
you.
industry, and I've been down this road before, and I've seen things fall apart 2 or 3 years down the road, because, yeah, we know what we're doing.
You're raising some expert.
And I-
In my experience, I've seen that track delaminate twice, in 3 applications. The last application we took up, but it delaminated 2. So I agree with you 100%. Whatever the specs are, they have to hit it, because we don't want this one to delaminate. The idea of the drains, we put a lot of extra effort, a lot of money into these drains. This one went in and clogs them.
I've heard about that too, so anyway, I'm fully aware of that, so.
Good, I appreciate
So I-
Jared's, and our on-site supervisor.
Brent's done a great job.
Brent is doing a great job. We just need to keep, everyone involved needs to keep doing a great job.
So you say that, but then the question I have is, you said that there's a problem with having an on-site supervisor on location. He's doing a great job, but he's not there. I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
I'm sorry, we have an owner's rep who's doing it. So
Okay.
Brent Sanders is our owner's rep,
Okay.
and does a fantastic job, and, looks after our interests very, very well. Phil
you
Turf
said-
does not have an on-site supervisor, and that would be beneficial to them.
Who's that?
Phil Turf is the company who's hired.
Aren't they contractually obligated to have a shop or
That's
a
a discussion we have.
supervisor?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and then they got problems,
Had that today.
I mean, it seems like it's a no-brainer from our position. You either have one or you stop. Because now you're talking about safety issues as well. Incidents on location that may happen, that's,
Can't stop.
You can't stop, that's the
Can't
problem
stop.
we're at
That's
right
the
now.
problem. You can't stop. There's
to
no
hit
way
the
you can
schedule.
stop.
So,
We,
and we're paying for a supervisor who's not on site, by the way.
That's been discussed.
That's been discussed, yeah. So it's one of those catch-22s, and you guys have all been there, especially on the construction side. You're like,
And you
hey.
short pay their bills for that
And so
supervisor.
what I do right now is I just hold their bills, and then we will look at it all in the end, and definitely a conversation, with members of the board, with Jed, who's our sales rep, and make those final decisions at the end. What I'm trying to do right now is move this project forward, because as you guys know, any delay means that we put out our kids.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I have to swallow some things and say, okay, we can get past this, but I don't want to swallow it to the point that there's a detriment to what our final project's going to be. But there are times that I have to say, okay, we're going to deal with this in the end and try to hopefully maybe get some money back, or it can go towards some more change orders, or something that we'll have to deal with later. But that has been one of our concerns, and that's why some of the things that have happened that they've had to redo. So, but that's where our owner's rep has done a fantastic job. We've got great documentation, great pictures. There's been lots of emails. Ryan can attest, sometimes 3 or 4 a day and back and forth, and saying, okay, this is what we're seeing. So. But one thing, and I have to commend our surfacing group, that kind of made me feel a little bit better as I went up today, on both the inside and the outside. They actually have a 3-foot piece of material that kind of helps collect some of that as well. So it does mitigate the immediate dirt that's right next to the track, and perhaps will catch some others this way. And so I feel that they're doing a great job in their preparation and trying to do anything they can with that as well. So
Jared, after being at the track with Jed and explaining how that process is gonna work. And then on the call today, they know what they're doing. They really do. And I just, the unforeseen thing with the rain or the wind or whatever, if we have the truck there and then the water is on that, then it'll work, yeah. And if you go up there, there's those great big white bags, and I didn't know what it was, so I asked, and that's the tailings that fills in on the turf, the little black, whatever they're made of.
Oh, that rubber.
That rubber. And I don't know how many there are, what, 50?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
A lot of things are coming and moving. Like I said, there's a lot going on. At any time, please. I know Dan's up there almost daily. Please go on up, see what's going on. There's a lot transpiring, and things are starting to come together and stuff with that. So appreciate your support and allowing us to get as many projects as we have been doing this summer. There's a lot going on. So any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, we
Thank you.
appreciate all your
Okay.
hard work.
Okay, down to our next item for discussion, which is our staff exit and climate survey results.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we did discuss this briefly last board meeting in executive session to deal with my contract, but I thought publicly we should talk about our survey that we have our staff participating in annually. This is actually the 5th year we've given the same survey. And just quickly go over the results. We'll spend time at the retreat going over the comments as a group together, looking at potential solutions or concerns. Hopefully, the bottom line with this is the focus of the board. There's the focus of the board, focus of the superintendent, focus of the district as a whole. In terms of focus of the board, the high is 85.3% satisfied or somewhat satisfied. The low is 81%, 0.4 satisfied or somewhat satisfied. You can kind of see by the blue and the red that we are dropping a little bit from 2020, which was, of course, COVID, and everyone was very pleased with what we did. It's hard to look at 85, 84% satisfied and think, well, we've got a lot of work to do. There are things we can improve on, that's the big message. But for the board, overall, the staff that responded is satisfied. I did notice in all the categories, roughly there was 9 individuals that were not satisfied with anything. So it's probably the same 9 answered dissatisfied in every category. So we get that occasionally. The next group, and just to kind of highlight, I think it's easier in this chart to see work completed by the board. This should say, so you can see totally satisfied, totally dissatisfied from 2022 down to 2018. You can see that we are moving backwards a little bit, but still 84% still popular. This is the work completed. 85% I think this year, and then the board response to students is still very, very high. One of the things that I see looking at the comments is our ability to communicate with the public what we're doing. I think the more we get that out, showing what we've done, the more satisfaction we're going to have. So that's, again, a challenge that remains. The next category is the work of the superintendent. The average highs is 87.7, and the low is 83.1. You can even see that, again, a little less than we've had before, but not significantly less. I think in 2000, the superintendent work was in the 90s. Still, work we can get better at, but the responses, I think, are positive. This is the focus of the district. A little lower, but still here in the 80s. And with the same 9 people being dissatisfied, it's hard not to think that we're doing things okay. The key to all of this is, I think, the comments. We ask in comments, they can put anything they want. What is the district doing right? What does the district need to improve on? And the comments are quite interesting. I get a kick every year. Things we're doing right. A lot of comments about PLCs. But then you look at things that we need to improve on, PLCs. Same kind of issues. They like the HRS as a positive comment. Negative comment, they don't like the HRS. So how do you balance that? Again, you look at these numbers, 9 to 10% dissatisfied. We just need to do a better job explaining what HRS is, what our PLC work is for. We don't just do HRS to do it. Our high reliability skills work is school improvement effort, which is required by statute that we improve every year. And it is hard work, extremely hard work. That's no denial, but it's also the right work. And so we'll spend some time and go over all the responses, talk about them, and then look what we can do moving forward. We have some very good news with our high reliability schools work and certification in level 2. We'll probably save that for the future and when we get all the results back. But, very
Ryan?
positive work.
Ryan, was the amount of comments increased this year? It seems like we had more comments.
About the same.
Overall. Was it? Okay.
So, of the 200, just less than 200 responded. There's probably 80 comments positive and 80 comments negative.
Okay.
So, and I don't, excuse me, not negative, just stating that there are things we can do.
Yeah.
And even that, you get some of the comments that what we're doing well could be seen as, well, we still need to improve. Some of the comments, what we need to work on, some are saying nothing, but that counts as a comment. So, but we'll spend some time at the retreat to review those and talk about those. But I just wanted to put it out there that, again, high majority of our staff is satisfied with the work that's being done. Start to trickle down a little bit less, but the work's getting harder. We talk about change, 3 to 5 years it takes to really kind of change the system. We're into that 5-year period. And typically what happens in school districts is 3 to 5 years, there's a significant change and they start to work over again. We haven't. We're climbing that big hill. We have to get over the big hill. Once we get over the big hill, we'll see, I think, some significant improvement. Again, I like the work we're doing. I understand how challenging it is, but it's the right work. So the board will have a chance to look at the comments, make comments themselves, set goals again at the retreat. And so kind of that's the next thing on the agenda is the retreat is scheduled for August 1st, which is Monday night, I think 6 to 8. The plan is really threefold. We're going to have some training on high reliability schools, some training on PLCs, and then we will set goals. So as many of you as possible, all of you hopefully could attend that and we can work on our goals for the coming school. That actually takes care of EMC.
Sure does. Okay, so down to our next item for discussion, which is policy GCBA, the professional staff salary schedules.
Madam Chair, members of the board, it was probably, I don't even know how many years ago now, 2006, 2007, when this policy was last modified. And it was because there was some action in the legislature that allowed school district to provide Wyoming experience, teachers in Wyoming, 100% of that experience on the salary schedule. And so at that time, the board felt that there needed to be a separation between those who got their experience in Wyoming as compared to those who got their experience in other states. We probably had the luxury of doing that in 2005 and 2010 through that time period because we were having so many applications. What we see now is that policy hurts us. And so my suggestion is that we provide 100% of experience for any teacher that's willing to apply and work in our district. The irony of it all is the 602 is a report that we put together. It's a staffing report. We get paid based on the experience of that employee. Even though we chart all the experience from in Wyoming and other states, we only allow up to 6 years for out-of-state experience. But yet on the 602, we're fully funded for that teacher's experience. So I think it's an error we need to correct. All teachers should get full experience as they come in. It'll be a little more expensive, but right now I don't know why we would have anyone from another state come to our district and give up 10, 15 years of experience on the salary schedule. We're not going to get them. They're not going to come. So I think it's fixing it wrong. We've had it a long Doug, I don't know if you'd like to express your opinion about it, but
It's the rest of the.
Yeah.
what
It'll be
this,
tough because you'll have people that did not fall into this policy that have been hired in the last 5 years, for example, that did not have that.
You're always
You
gonna
gotta
have
start
that.
somewhere.
Yeah.
and Doug,
Always gonna have
Doug is
that.
right. What I would like to do is, this is on first reading tonight, second reading will be in August. When we meet with the staff, I'm just gonna say, anybody that's been hired in the last 5 years that did not get their experience from out of state, contact me. We don't even know now how many people that is. I don't think it's as many as we think, because most teachers we hire are new teachers to the profession. And then I can come back to you and say, this is what the solution needs to be. I've been contacted by only one who asked, I had 15 years in another state, they gave me 6 here. I lost a significant amount of money. It would be impossible to go back 20 years ago to someone that was hired, because remember, that salary schedule has changed multiple times in the last 20 years. It doesn't even look like the salary schedule they had 20 years ago. Same is even true 5 years, but I think we can look 5 years back and just say, okay, how do we right this wrong? Maybe we can't, but at least we'll get the information and talk with those teachers that have been hired with experience. Again, remember that we are reimbursed for that experience on the 602 anyway. So we're actually making money on the backs of teachers not getting their experience, which is not. So that's what this change does, is it basically takes out, you can see the placement. Experienced teachers now, new to the district may have previous experience in states other than Wyoming accepted for salary schedule placement up to the 6th step. That all comes out, it goes to the paragraph above. Any teacher hired shall receive credit on the salary schedule for all prior years of certified teaching experience in an accredited school district or as a certified teacher in an accredited preschool system. So not only K-12, but also maybe pre-K, if we have teachers that come with that kind of experience. It's easy to do because we require every new teacher to fill out past experience, and it's verified by the previous employer, so we have good information. So that is why this is before you, is I'd like to recommend that you approve this at first reading when we get to that.
Okay, so down to public comments. Is there any public comments tonight?
Okay,
Okay.
moving on.
Well, I was waiting for somebody to rush in the room or something, you never know. Okay, down to our action items. So our first item for action tonight is personnel.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we recommend that you accept the resignation of 2 certified teachers, Jeremy Paddock and Sarah Ora. Jeremy was able to, Jeremy commutes from Morgan, and he was able to find a job in Park City, so he didn't make a smaller commute, but because of the situation that's now in the state of Utah, he'll make more money in Park City than he will. He's finally crossed that point. And sooner or later, he'll end up in Morgan making more money than he can make here. He's a pretty good foreign language teacher. Sarah's husband got a job, and so we're going to let them out of the contract. We have found a replacement for Jeremy, which is in the list below, and we're working on Sarah's replacement.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve the 2 resignations as discussed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Madam Chair, members of the board, item 2 is we recommend that you approve the following certified contracts. I can tell you, I wish Matt was here because he'd tell you too, it's been the weirdest hiring year we've ever had. And I do think that is a function of what's happened to the salaries in Wyoming. People are finding that they can return home and not lose money, which we've never really had to worry about before. We've had to be a little more creative with these positions. Several of these individuals will be working under an exception authorization as they work on their degree, which is allowed in the state of Wyoming. And they'll be fully certified to teach what they're teaching, but it's just not the same as it used to be. When you had hundreds of applications for a position, now we don't. So we're a little more creative. It's just something, I'm pretty excited we are where we are. I think we're only one certified position short currently, and we're working on that. We think we can get that filled by next month. So
How much, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. How much of a difference is there? The guy that went to Park City?
significant enough that, again, this is my opinion, that he is switching retirements from a very good retirement plan to one that's not as good. So in his eyes, it's...
The difference in, will make up the difference.
I asked him, but he didn't give me specifics.
Okay.
Just more,
What's that?
just more.
Just more.
One thing that Park City does, that he told me, was they pay 100% of his benefits. So his insurance doesn't cost him a dime. They put more into his retirement there. But I think we just Park City.
That is just Park City.
They got it.
They got that.
They do. So we recommend that you approve the following certified contracts.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
So wasn't one of these that we just approved, they retired?
Yeah,
Mhm.
a couple years ago.
Welcome back. huh?
Yeah, and it's a 1-year contract.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's back.
We are very
Very
excited to do it.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Or I'd be teaching band.
Well, we certainly don't want that, but I'm excited that he's back.
He's helping us out. He is helping us out. He's doing it as a favor to our district and to the music department.
That's awesome.
We tried to suck my nephew back up there for this job, and he won't leave Nevada yet.
Okay, down to our next item is the second reading of policy GCBD, professional staff leaves and absences.
Madam Chair, if you remember, this deals with sabbaticals, and there were also some suggestions from Mr. Phillips that are in this now, just some wording changes. Again, we haven't given a sabbatical for almost 22 years, it just needs to be removed.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve on second reading policy GCBD, professional staff leaves and absences? All these abbreviations.
Easy for you to see.
I know.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, down to our next item, which is to approve on first reading GCBA, professional staff salary
This
schedules.
is the one we just discussed, Madam Chair. It's to provide all of experience outside the state of certified teacher.
Okay,
Recommend that you approve this at first reading.
okay. Is there a motion to approve on first reading GCBA, professional staff salary schedules?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Down to our next item is our excess equipment, which is a Chevy Express van.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we did have an accident that caused some damage to that van. We figure it's a better decision to sell it instead of putting money into it, fix it. It would cost more to fix than it's worth. So we recommend that you access that. I believe it'll be sold private, is it a public surplus? Public surplus. So that money will go back into transportation.
Okay.
General fund?
It actually comes back to the state.
No, it goes back to the state. Great!
We don't get it.
So sell it for $2, right?
We don't get it.
No, we need to honor those taxpayers everywhere, but it's just the way it is.
And based on the entitlement, whatever we get goes back.
In doing so, I would like for you to bid on that van, supporting the taxpayers.
We have to.
We'll base it on the cost of living allowance, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, is there a motion to access the Chevy Express van?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, now we're going to need to get into our budget hearing. So is there a motion to recess our regular board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're going to be done, not done, we're just in recess. No, we're not done, sorry. Okay, so is there a motion to open our 2022-2023 budget hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
quick one, like this. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are open. So we'll be down to our discussion items, which is our 2021-2022 budget adjustments.
All right. Would you like to do the budget adjustments first? Actually, can we do that?
You do.
You do whatever you want.
Within reason.
Let's do that later.
Okay.
And the reason is that we need to amend this year's budget, and so we can do both of them
At the same time? Yeah,
Okay.
makes sense.
So this is entitled Did You Knows, Watch Out Fors, and Things to Be Aware of. So, general fund, let's quickly talk about that. It's been I want to say a good year if you just were to look at fund balance, which is kind of, here's your net savings. And we, at the end of the year, we increased the general fund balance. For really, there's two things that are driving that. By $2 million, you say, wow, great, and things. The first is that we have been consciously trying to move as much as we can over to the federal funds that have a expiration date, and we're trying to push that there. And the second thing is that we have what's called it's called net excess collected. It's a fancy word for we've got tax money early. Okay. So, but if you're to say, okay, how did the general fund do? It did well. Fund balance is looking good. Now this number is, don't fixate on that. It will drive down a little bit because we still haven't done accounts payable, but okay, that's where it was a couple days ago. We have received, like I said, 1.3 of money that came early. So I went on a backpacking trip. I was thinking we were going to get about $70,000, and we got 1.3. And so, okay, what might that be? Most of that, I believe, is mineral that came in early. Okay. That money belongs to the 22-23 year. Okay. So, I'll show you kind of what we're thinking about doing it. With that, because there is an entitlement amount, we budget off of that. We don't budget off of how much money do we have. And so it's going to look a little funky in the budget if you've reviewed it and say, wait, you're running a deficit. Well, partly it's because the revenues we have received, and we have, that 1.3 we've received. And so we're not going to get that revenue in 22-23. We received it in 21-22. And so it looks like a deficit of 264. You add the net excess collected, and it's really a $1.1 million surplus that will run with that amount. Any questions on that? It's kind of it took a while for me to understand, okay, this tax shortfall, net excess collected, and things. So, how much money is left in the track and field budget? That's an important thing to know. And so I looked at this number today, and we're looking at 1.2. Sounds like we're going to get rent a new water truck that would go into this amount. And so that last sentence, we need to gross up the new year budget by this amount. The budget that I presented doesn't have that extraordinary amount. So we're gonna need to increase it because we're gonna have a bunch of expenditures against that. The unassigned fund balance, that's the net savings. This is an important number that I'm looking at is to say, okay, how much money do you have for oddball, one-time stuff? And we're looking at about 5.6. The general fund has several new positions, particularly in special ed, but also in elementary positions. The thing about adding special ed positions is that the state, you pay first, and then 1 year later, it's almost a dollar for dollar reimbursement. So it looks like special ed's, they are spending more, but 1 year from now, we get reimbursed on that.
So if you spend $10 today on special ed, you can assume that you'll get $10?
That's right.
So they don't take into consideration cost of living,
It's,
you know what I mean?
well, it's,
Inflation.
special ed is special ed, they
Yeah.
have to, they run a little bit different thing. So yeah, we'll claim that amount for next year. Part of the fund balance increase is due to shift of one-time federal money, and I mentioned that before. Okay, so this is another way of looking at it, and so here is the fund balance right here of 8.8. This is warehouses, okay? We don't usually hold a bake sale to sell off the warehouse, but if we did, that's kind of what it's worth right now for transportation and the warehouse at the Kerwin building. I've put this amount right here restricted. I've just said, hey, everybody, this really belongs to next year. And I've pulled it out of this unassigned thing. And then I've got some assigned amounts. These are encumbrances that have straddled one fiscal year. Track and field artificial turf project. So it's it's kind of a big idea of how much money do we have in fund balance. Okay. Just to remember, you've got special reserve fund of $650. That's kind of we earmarked that for the replacement of the track and field down the road. It's kind of an emergency fund. And then major maintenance, this is the amount that is showing right now of savings. They'll get another allocation from the state as well. Okay?
A question?
Yeah.
Has the money been spent already for those tents that we, those, whatever we're calling them? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Has that,
Purchase price, yes.
has that been allocated or spent?
Yeah.
So, and then is the budget taking into consideration transportation charges to get it here, rental of cranes and all?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, special revenue. This is the one that is just, trying to budget special revenue in this day and age is like, holy cow. We don't know. Here it is in June. Okay, if we were to rewind the tape, a year ago, all of a sudden we've got ESSER 3 that has come in, or ARP ESSER, and we've got all these things that come in. So just beware. It's unprecedented. The fiscal conservative in me just kind of cringes at the whole thought of it, but okay, all right. Nevertheless, thank you. We have about 2.7 million to draw down in ESSER 2 and 6.7 left in ESSER 3. We've made shifts of custodians and nurses into that, and as certain grants finish, then we push it back. So we're trying to spend it down and avoid funding growth. Okay. We'll be making one-time purchases of student computers. That's in there as well. I said that. All right. Okay. This is point 5 to me is an important one, especially for the board. And that is that the legislature is playing a game. It's almost a game of chicken. They're saying, hey, we don't want to fund, don't want to allocate things to education because you school districts have received extra federal money. Now, the federal law regarding these special revenues says that you can't spend less, but the state is kind of saying, well, okay, you're getting money, so therefore we're not going to give you a cost of living. The thing that we could say to a legislative discussion is, yeah, but it's one-time money. And things. Did you know on the major maintenance, carryover is about 1.3 million. You get another 2 million and change. It comes in throughout the year. Some of the track, the Umi playground, and other projects. It's not just the big projects. Major maintenance there's just a ton of little, and what I mean by little is you got a $5,000 situation, a boiler goes down or something like that. Major maintenance is there, and we appreciate the state funding in that way, although it did take a court case to get the state funding. The culinary water project we've got about 2.2 left to draw down from the state from that. And the warning that we all need to do is watch out for disruptors. Economics, that is the big thing right now that is out there, as you know. But there's also little things like change orders and things like that. So, this is a watch out for us. I came across this, and it's just, I think, some really good counsel. 6 basic steps of public projects. The first is that enthusiasm is the first thing that happens. And so, whether it's the track and field or domes or whatever, enthusiasm reigns, and then disillusionment starts to set in when certain realities hit. And after that, it seems to be a situation of panic. And then we start to search for the guilty and persecute the innocent. And we give praise and honors to the non-participants. And that pattern came because of the Minnesota Twins Stadium. So.
Yep.
Okay, proprietary funds. Proprietary implies property. Somebody has property. And so the board, you, representing the community, have ownership over 2 funds. The school lunch fund and the employee benefit fund. And the good news is that, well, this is not good news. This is not good. This is in red. It's beginning this year, universal free meals has ended. And so beginning July 1, it's kind of a new game in town. That means, as a parent, I send my child off to school, we pay for that. Or in some instances, it might be reduced, and in some instances, it might be free. The big push, if you were to talk to Linda right now, is she's trying to get the free applications. And it's hard because for several years, we haven't been filling those out. And so, the district has implemented cost increases to meals, as you know, largely due to those 2 things. But the good news is that food service is sitting on a very healthy fund balance. I never thought I'd see this, that there would be $1 million, food service always seemed to be, the situation that needed to be triaged, and that I think is one of the few things that has been great about the COVID situation. Now the one, and this is just as we're developing these budgets, especially on the revenue side, it's like, how do you budget the revenue? So we've made some guesses on revenue. How much, what they call it, elasticity of demand. Are people going to change because all of a sudden it's, they got to pay? So we've made some guesses on that. Are the lunch prices also adequate for that? The second proprietary fund is the employee benefit fund. It's a there was, I think back in 2002-ish, 2002, it was before my time, there was some unanticipated oil money, mineral money. And the superintendent and management at the time said, hey, let's park this for the employees. And we have been we passed the health insurance through that. It's kind of a pass-through amount, so it does a couple of different things. It has about $1 million in that account, and we've used $75,000 for lifetime of service, but if we don't have to, we don't. And on very good years, we fund it back up to $1 million. So it's sitting pretty much full right now, which means that we can give out lifetime of service, we can extend that benefit out. It's in a good position. Things to be aware of. You should have received the annual budget, okay? I've tried in the last few years to put a little bit more narrative. How is the sausage ground on here? And if you haven't spent some time in it, I've tried to give you, okay, here's how we're going about formulating the budget. And the different tables. The second thing is the assessed valuation. Now, oil prices have gone up. That also means that assessed valuation has gone up. That's the good news if you want to look at it that way. I mean, the bad news is we pay more for home and things. But in 2021, the legislature changed the way that minerals will be collected. They want minerals to go directly to the state rather than go to the county. And then the state remits to the county. It also has given some mineral companies the option of paying the 2021 for 13 years. I don't know who had the ear to get this, because only 2 companies that I'm aware of in the state are taking advantage of it. There was a lot of legislation for, I think, almost a non-issue. And in talking to Terry and others, it's like, why did the legislature do that? The consequence is that it's a little bit more of a challenge for me to figure out, okay, if we're talking about mineral, are we talking about the 13-year cycle and things like that? Now, the good thing is that school districts have a guarantee in that, and so basically the state says, okay, we don't care if it's state sources or local sources, as long as you hit that. You're made whole. So what that number 2 is saying is that it's an estimate, and that 25 mil, especially as we're trying to figure out how this will work, I do know what the bottom line is going to be, because the 100 says this is the amount. On page 32 of the budget, I have given a bunch of different assumptions as we work through the budget, and I go, oh, hey, we added a position or we made a change. There's a page of here's budget assumptions on that. Also be aware that we're going to begin our financial audit. I feel like we are kind of ahead of schedule, and I'm anticipating it should be fine. On that. There's likely to be a state audit. I have not received a letter from them, or actually it will be sent to Chairman Torres. But I have a feeling, since we haven't been audited since about 2017, that we're likely to. So, on that. And then number 6. And that is inflation's the big issue. That's the thing that's kind of whether it's cost of healthcare, the cost of, trying to get money into the hands of our employees. How do we, take the amount of money that is guaranteed and allocate it so that we're doing the things that we need to. So, I ask that you respectfully ask that you adopt the budget for the 22-23 fiscal year. Do you have any questions? In the past, I've gone through the 100 and tried to, okay, here's how I grind the, the thing. This year, I thought, hey, let's just kind of give a little bit more of an overview. But I'm also sorry, like, for instance, John, we could go through the 100, or Dan, anybody who's new, or anybody, we can go through, here's how I'm arriving at the different numbers.
I don't have any questions. You've done a great job explaining it, and I know that you've worked really hard to break it down for us so we understand it better. So I don't know about anybody else.
If you have questions, please feel free. Either drop me an email or stop by my office, and I will sit down with you. And, hey, this is how we are calculating different things. So,
Right.
okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, as part of that, you heard that we've got to amend budgets. And
Yep.
we have to amend last year's budgets, and we need to amend this year's budget. In part with last year's budget, let's see. So gonna get that. Thank you, John. The big amounts right now, there's incidental stuff that kind of come through on that, but in terms of the what I've done is I've basically cleaned up the revenues a little bit, tried to put, okay, again, move it, maybe.
Just spin the paper.
There we go, okay. This is for the general fund, and the first part right here is the revenues, and they're just kind of clean up and things. The ones that kind of to be aware of, we had some larger insurance purchasing for property insurance this year for central administration. This $60,000 is mostly due to the phone system that was installed on that. And this little gem right here is the track and field project. Now, that's the whole amount. This amount right here, we increased the whole amount. We're not going to spend that entire amount. In fact, this is the amount that it's showing recently and things. But part of that, remember that track and field amount will be moved into the next year. So that's kind of the big things on the general fund. Any questions? Oh, this one. This is special revenue. You start out with the year and you think, okay, this is kind of what we think's happening, and then they get federal awards, $7 million, and you go from one 1.9 million to 4 million. These are the ESSERs that are coming in. Sometimes consolidated grants, but once we get the budget amounts, we pop that in and things. You also see them on the board reports as well. So, Capcom, there's a little bit of, as we started to get more state numbers from Julie, tech and maintenance on that. That's the EHS water project, mostly. And I don't think anything's really changed in major maintenance. Except for interest. And same thing with food service. Really not any changes there. Employee benefit fund. This one, this is a pass-through amount. This is really, the employee benefit fund is what you can say is here's how much insurance costs the district. That's health insurance. So that is the old budget. And then,
So that's the 21-22.
that's the 21-22. So I respectfully ask that you amend that, the budget.
Okay, we'll do that when it comes down to our action items.
Okay. And then I sent a memo, let me turn the thing, that's just taking what's left of the track and field budgets and moving it into the next fiscal year. That's what that is. Okay. Also, as part of the budget hearing, there's also the motion to approve the mills, and the mills have not changed.
Okay.
Any questions? Feel free, please, stop by my office.
Okay.
We can have a great discussion on the
Riveting conversation.
stimulating.
Anything else?
And John loves it, as you can tell.
I love that he loves it.
I do too.
Somebody has to.
I'm glad somebody loves it.
Anything else, John, that we need to know?
I think that's it. So, anything else, Ryan?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we've discussed everything, so we'll go ahead and move on to our action items for budget hearings. So the first action item is to approve the 2021-2022 budget adjustments. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Now we'll move on to our next item, which is to approve the request from county to levy 2.7 mils.
20.
Oh,
20.
sorry.
20.7.
I moved the decimal in my head. 28.7. I know, 28.7 mils. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. And then the last item for our discussion, for our action item, is to adopt the 2022-2023 budget. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay,
Give me a second, 2023.
oh,
That was to adopt the budget. There wasn't an amendment one on here. That was
sorry, there wasn't an action item, so.
You need to have an action.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so for the,
Change the agenda
yeah, we need a motion
13.
to add that to the agenda.
to the action items.
So I'll move to make the budget adjustment for the 2022-23 budget to be added to the action items.
As item D.
D.
As
Second.
Item D.
Okay, second by Jenny. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So item D for action items is to approve the adjustments to the 2022-2023 budget.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
now we got it. Thank you. Okay, so is there a motion, I can't talk tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn our budget hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So we're out of our budget hearing, so is there a motion to reconvene our regular board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Somebody. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We do have to come back, so. Okay, because we want to talk about good things and excited things, because we're down to our board roundtable. Who has anything to share?
I do, Madam Chair.
Okay.
John, I just want to thank you.
Yeah.
Year after year, coming here and going through these budget meetings, you do a fantastic job with the budget of this school district, and I appreciate all the work that you do. So thank you very much.
Yes, I think we're all in agreement on that one.
So I have to apologize if I offended you in any way, Jared. You thought I was being aggressive towards you and the project. I come from that industry, so I just want to make sure that we are covering what we're paying for. So please don't take offense. If you were offended in any way by my discussion, please do not be offended. I didn't mean to come across that way. So I think things are going well. There's just a few things that and you made the comment that I am real close friends with Brent. I am, but a lot of these things that have come up is not him. It is me. So there's some areas of concern just because of my background in this industry, and what I've seen. So please don't take offense.
I appreciate it, so thank you. I'm not
Okay,
offended at all.
all
It's
right.
good.
You're doing a good job, and I hear good things about you, and I hear good things about Field Turf. It would have been a lot nicer to have a full-time project supervisor or superintendent here to address issues in real time, so.
I've only had one call about displeasure with the money we've spent on our stadium project. And he was an older gentleman that called, and he would have a lot more preferred that we spent the money to spray for mosquitoes.
That's it.
Aren't they supposed to do that?
And I said, well, I know why the mosquitoes have not been sprayed, because I says, that's done with an airplane, and it comes out of Ogden, and the airplane pilot, you have to be a special certified to be able to do, to spray, and he couldn't do it. And I said, I really understand your concern, but it has nothing to do with the money that the school district's paying. And he said, well, I'm still mad. And I said, well, that's your right to be mad, but it's not up to us to pay for the mosquito spray, so.
Let's amend the agenda.
We could
We've got something to
We
take
amend
care
the
of.
budget.
include mosquitoes.
To item C,
Mosquitoes.
to purchase a fogging machine for us.
Yeah.
With a pilot.
I just hope everybody, and I know you guys have to be here tonight, but I hope everybody's taking a little time and taking advantage of some of your time off and enjoying your summer. So, here very soon, you guys are all gonna be in the full swing of things, so we appreciate everything that you guys do and still enjoy it while you can.
Also,
Anybody have anything else for a board roundtable? Okay, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're done. Thank you all.
Catch planes, so it's
Oh, good.
not a mosquito.